Hey yo, what's going on, viewers of the tube? If you are getting your cherry popped for the very first time, I'm your host Tyler, and welcome to the channel that is as funky as the next techno musical equipment about to hit the scene. All I gotta ask, Japanese boys, when Bitcoin QR codes next? You know our UPC, it's time for Chico Crypto. Can you believe it, friends? We are back above 10K once again. After breaking through it over the weekend on Saturday, we were able to hold above 10K for about 24 hours. But once the clock turned from Sunday to Monday, we dipped back below and bearish sentiment started to take over, going from over 10,100 Monday morning to the 9,700 levels by the end of the day, wiping out 4%. And it's so obvious why this dip came. The overall sentiment in the market was bullish. We broke 10K, which is a very psychological number. Every Twitter influencer, YouTuber influencer, Instagram influencer, shoot, even TikTok were making videos implying a massive move was coming. Then they go shill their Bybit leverage trading link. So a large majority of the impressionable went on Bybit or BitMEX and put in longs. Thus, it was time for a quick liquidation scheme to take money from all the noobs. Just look at all the liquidations during that 24-hour dip. $70 million on BitMEX alone, not including any of the new futures exchanges like Bybit, Binance, and more. So in my live stream over the weekend, I explained why I hate the centralized leveraged exchanges plaguing the industry. And some people automatically think I'm against leverage trading, but in actuality, I'm not, as long as it's done in a decentralized manner that helps the cryptocurrency industry as a whole. So how can you leverage and not help centralized manipulating fractional reserve exchanges? Well, Ethereum DeFi. It allows you to be your own custodian with fully transparent order books and leverage lending, not from a centralized entity, but from a pool of token holders that is 100% open source. The decentralized protocol allowing all of this is DyDx, which I have highlighted on the channel more than a few times, but I thought now was the perfect time to reintroduce it. DyDx allows you to do 4 things. Number 1, open short or leveraged positions with leverage up to 5x, and you can trade on margin with borrowed capital. Number 2, borrow any supported asset directly to your wallet and use existing crypto holdings as collateral. Number 3, deposit funds to continuously earn interest over time, and that interest is variable, ensuring you always get market rate. And finally, number 4, view, manage, and close margin positions and track portfolio performance over time through an online portal. So let's check out the portal right now, beginning with that trading interface. It's pretty damn sleek, and if you're familiar with any other leverage exchange, you understand what we are looking at. I'm not going to dive into how to leverage trade, but with DyDx, they support 3 trading pairs, Ether DAI, Ether USDC, and DAI USDC, which you can leverage or do basics, market, and spot orders with. In the borrow section, you can borrow the 3 assets to trade with as well as repay any outstanding debts. And finally, there is the balance page, which is basically the lending portal, as when you deposit here, your funds automatically start earning the interest lend rates below. So if you're feeling the itch to leverage, for 1, practice, learn, and research before fully diving in. Number 2, please use something like DyDx, which is fully open source, transparent, and contributes to the success of the industry long term. The next thing I want to talk about is the altcoin industry, because if we pull out the Bitcoin dominance chart, since Bitcoin's dominance low in January of 2018, we can see that gap was widening between Bitcoin and the pool of altcoins. But in the middle of 2019, the resistance was hit, and more recently, BTC dominance seems to be falling quickly. Altseason, could it be? Shoot, there are even infographics being made which say the rule. When BTC dominance declines rapidly, this leads to an increase of investment into altcoins and can lead to an alt season. So is another 2017 coming and another alt season ready to take Bitcoin dominance down the sheeter once again? Well, just look at this beauty of a coin. Tron TRX pumping over the past month, almost securing 100% gains. Well, Justin's son, he was recently at a crypto conference, getting a tad bit tipsy. And you know what they say about alcohol? It lowers a person's inhibitions and highly increases the chances that a person, Justin, will do or say something they will regret when they are sober. And alcohol brings out the real truth in people. Let's hear what Justin had to say about TRX.
Buy my shitcoin.
Is Tron a valid coin or a shitcoin?
Shitcoin.
Why is it a shitcoin?
But still more legit than Ethereum. I don't know why.
But it's a shitcoin.
I agree. Buy his shitcoin.
Buy his shitcoin.
Buy it immediately.
Yeah, buy his shitcoin. Why should they buy that shitcoin?
Because it is Ethereum killer.
Tron holders, he is literally laughing in your faces. It is a shatty McShat, and even the Project Puppet founder knows it. Tron knows they cannot compete with the furious development of Ethereum, including the many things I have been highlighting, like a burning mechanism from EIP 1559. And that includes Ethereum 2.0. What about that? Well, we got good news that a date has been penciled in for the official staking deposit launch and the launch of the Beacon chain, which will for some time run in conjunction with the proof of work chain, while the shard chains are being tested and implemented throughout the rest of 2020 and 2021. The date for launch? Well, July 2020 with 95% confidence. If you have seen the videos surfacing of 100K validator nodes functioning, getting ready for stress tests, and then you understand there are multiple developer groups working on this, the chances of a July launch become oh so more clear. In that video of 100K validators is Sigma Prime's testnet, and they are working on resource allocation, getting validators working on just 2.5 gigabytes of RAM, which does mean validator nodes can be run on mobile phones. Then you have Prismatic Labs, who just keeps improving sync speeds, getting it down to 20 bytes per second. And finally, independent developer Deirdre LeCracker, aka Proto Lambda, developed the Proto Array Fork Choice algorithm for choosing the head of a chain, and that is getting implemented as we speak. It's obvious to see that Ethereum is going to make it, and the naysayers will continue to push the agenda that Ethereum can't scale, Ethereum got taken down by CryptoKitties, and Ethereum can't become the global integration hub. The more you see that increase over the next few months, the more you know Ethereum is about to massively disrupt the industry. So you must know that I believe the next alt season is going to be led by Ethereum and Ethereum DeFi. As this narrative starts to take more of a hold, you will see project after project claiming they have DeFi offerings, just like back in 2017 and 2018. Every project tried to compete with Ethereum and become a platform for launching ICOs or IEOs. Neo launched ICOs, EOS launched ICOs, Binance launched IEOs, shoot, Stellar tried some, and even VeChain tried to pull off they were the next big ICO platform, with a group of failed projects. So please don't believe any of Tron's baloney or Binance's bull honky. They are centralized chains, thus they cannot be DeFi, as DeFi stands for Decentralized Finance. Decentralized.
So the way I define a blockchain is it's a decentralized system that contains some kind of shared memory.
But something just happened that could allow many of these Shatcoins to pump, and it's the reason why so many exchanges like Binance allow US traders on its exchange to this day. This is the Kissor vs. Wilkie case, which had its decision in June of this year. So what happened? Well, a veteran, James Kissor, was challenging the Department of Veteran Affairs office that he should get benefits for PTSD. Well, the department relied on the old Auer Deference, established in 1997, in which the judiciary branch of the government normally defers to an agency's own interpretation of its own regulations in resolving matters of law. This Auer Deference has had major implications for the Bank Secrecy Act, as it's given each agency, like each state's regulating bank agency, the power both to write an ambiguous regulation and to require the federal courts to defer to the agency's agency's interpretation of that ambiguous regulation. Moreover, deference is required even if the agency's preferred interpretation is not the best interpretation of the ambiguous regulation. This is good for banks, as when law or regulation isn't clearly set in stone, they have an avenue to get away with a ton of shit. But the Auer deference did have something to it that kept corruption in check, which was deferring to an own agency's regulations happened unless it is plainly erroneous or inconsistent with regulation. Well, banks and money service businesses have been kept in check because the Federal Financial Institutions Examination Council, FFEIC, has a manual, the Bank Secrecy Act Anti-Money Laundering Examination Manual, which has been used as law in courts when the Auer deference is used by financial institutions. Attorneys for financial institutions and their clients know well that federal banking agencies have long treated this manual's recommendations and requirements relating to the agency's Bank Secrecy Act regulations as legally binding. This makes it dramatically easier for federal banking agencies to prove that a bank has violated their regulations, which are ambiguous, without referencing to guidance contained in the FFEIC manual. But back to the case, which ended up oh so bad for everybody, the veteran included. PTSD wasn't anywhere in any federal documentation, so the Veteran Affairs Office used the Auer defense and Kissor lost, and he didn't get benefits. But something did happen. The Auer defense would now be updated and adjusted in such a terrible way, including how banks and financial institutions have been kept in check through the FFIEC manual. Federal judges are no longer required to defer to the federal banking agency's interpretations of their respective four pillars regulations under Auer, including legally binding FFIEC documentation relating to that Bank Secrecy Act, BSA. Money service businesses in the US have been required to have anti-money laundering programs that comply with the BSA. However, the requirements of the BSA are expressed at a high level of generality and often are ambiguous as applied to specific business activities. For this reason, when the US government brings an enforcement action against a business for violating the BSA, it often relies on the FFIEC manual to define the requirements of the BSA that the business violated. So what this means is the power of regulators may be gone, and it opens the door to a ton of evil to be released, as there will be no way to regulate them. Banks, money service businesses, remitters, and even cryptocurrencies. They are considered fintech companies, which was just ruled on in October of last year. The SEC, FinCEN, and the CFTC announced that broker-dealers involved with digital assets must comply with the BSA. But not anymore. And then Hester Pierce, SEC Commissioner, proposed a safe harbor for crypto tokens, where they will be able to build out their products, develop communities, and grow for a 3-year period before having to comply with regulations. So, the regulatory environment for crypto, or any financial institution, is getting stripped down to its core, and Altseason is getting ready to kick off. But my lord, it will be filled with a ton of scams. Garbage, dog, poopy. It's coming, but we will not fall for any of their traps. Cheers. I'll see you next time.